My dad used my college fund to send his new son to study abroad. 10 years later, he called me, begging me to save the same kid he replaced me with. And I don't know what's worse, that I still cared or that a part of me wanted to see him suffer first. I guess that's the thing about family. No matter how deep the wound goes, it always finds a way to reopen when you least expect it. It had been 10 years since I last spoke to my father. 10 years since the night he took the college fund my mother left me and used it to send his new son overseas. I left that house without a word. No anger, no tears, just silence and a single backpack, carrying a photo of my mom. Life after that wasn't easy, but at least it was mine. I worked through college on scholarships and part-time jobs, eventually landing a job as a civil engineer in Cincinnati. Nobody knew my past, and I preferred it that way. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was surviving, or at least that's what I told myself, until one rainy evening my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, until I heard the voice. "Ethan, it's your dad." My chest tightened. His voice sounded older, slower, almost fragile. "I know you don't want to hear from me," he said, "but it's about Caleb. Your brother." I laughed not because it was funny, but because of how absurd it sounded. "My brother," I repeated, as if the word itself was foreign. "He's in trouble, Ethan, serious trouble. I don't know what to do." "And what do you want from me?" I asked flatly. "He got mixed up in some bad investments, lost everything. He owes money. I can't cover it. Linda's falling apart. You're his brother, you can't just walk away." "Brother?" I said quietly. "When did we become brothers, Dad?" Silence. Then in a trembling voice, "Ethan, I know I hurt you, but please, don't let Caleb's life fall apart because of me. He's your blood." "No," I said, "he's your blood. I stopped being family the day you chose him over me." I hung up. I didn't feel angry or relieved, just empty. The same kind of hollow I felt that night 10 years ago when he watched me leave from the porch. Silent, expressionless, like losing me was a favor. The screen of my phone went dark. Outside, rain hit the window in slow, steady rhythms. I thought the past was buried. Turns out, all it needed was one phone call to come back to life. 3 days later, I got a message from an unknown number, a single photo. Caleb, bruised and bandaged, lying in a hospital bed, and one line beneath it, "I'm sorry, Ethan, my son needs help." It was from Linda. I stared at it for a long time. The woman who once stood by while my father stole my future was now asking for my mercy. I didn't reply, but for the first time in 10 years, something inside me shifted. I didn't know if it was anger or pity. I just knew I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night I didn't sleep. I sat by the window listening to the rain, thinking of my mother's voice. "Don't let others decide who you become, Ethan." By sunrise, I packed a bag and started the car. I was driving back to Ohio, a place I once swore I'd never see again. The drive to Ohio took 4 hours. The road was lined with leafless trees, and the gray sky felt heavy, pressing down on everything. 10 years and nothing had changed. The cracked "Welcome to Maplewood" sign, the old diner, the same gas station by the corner. Time had moved on, but this place hadn't. The hospital sat on a small hill, white and quiet. I parked and stepped into the smell of antiseptic. Linda was sitting in the waiting area, hands clenched, eyes red. She looked smaller than I remembered, older, exhausted. "Ethan," she whispered. "Where is he?" I asked. "Room 203, your father's inside." I walked down the hall. Every step echoed. The air felt thick, like it was filled with memories I didn't want to remember. When I opened the door, I froze. My father, Richard Ward, the man I once thought was unshakable, looked nothing like the man I remembered. His hair was grey, his shoulders slumped. Hand on the bed lay Caleb, pale, frail, his arm wrapped in gauze, his face bruised beyond recognition. Richard looked up. His eyes widened, then softened. "Ethan, you came." I didn't respond. "I know you're angry," he continued, "but thank you for coming." "I'm not here for thanks," I said flatly. "I'm here to understand what happened." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "He got caught up in some kind of trading scheme. Lost everything. He owes more than I can pay." I stared at him. "And what about the money you took from me? That investment in the family's future, how did that turn out?" He couldn't meet my eyes. His hands trembled. He didn't need to answer. I already knew. I thought if we ever met again, I'd feel something, anger maybe. But now I just feel tired, I said quietly. He looked up, his eyes wet. I don't expect forgiveness. I just don't know what else to do. Caleb is my mistake, Ethan, but he's still my son. And I'm not? I asked. He lowered his gaze. I was wrong. The room fell silent. The monitor beeped steadily beside Caleb. I looked at him, the boy who had everything I didn't, now lying helpless. My father's voice cracked. If you could help, just this once. I'd never forget it. You're mistaken, I said. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for Mom, for your mother. He repeated, confused. Yes, she taught me that helping others doesn't make you weak, but it has to be your choice, not theirs. I walked out. Linda stood in the hallway, her eyes filled with tears. Thank you for coming, Ethan, she said softly. I just nodded and left. Outside, the wind was cold, sharp, familiar. Ohio still had a way of making me feel 16 again, small, unwanted, searching for a reason to still believe in family. I stayed in town that night, not because I wanted to, but because the storm made the roads impossible. Linda offered me an empty room downstairs. You can rest here tonight, she said. Your father will probably wake early. I nodded, saying nothing. The window fogged with rain. The night felt heavy. Around midnight I heard a knock. My father stood there holding 2 cups of cold coffee. I figured you'd still be up, he said quietly. He sat down across from me. For a while neither of us spoke. Finally he broke the silence. Ethan, there's something I never told you. I looked at him, waiting. His voice trembled. Do you remember when your mother died? Of course I do, I said. I was 16. You said it was sudden, fate. He nodded slowly. It wasn't fate. It was a secret. I frowned. What do you mean? Your mother knew she was sick for years. Heart disease. She hid it from you because she didn't want you to worry. That's why she created the college fund. She wanted to make sure you'd have a chance if she couldn't be there. He paused, taking a shaky breath. After she passed, I fell apart. Linda came along when I was broken. She wasn't evil, Ethan, just there. Caleb was born, and I thought maybe that was a second chance to fix what I'd lost. He looked down. When Caleb got accepted to that school in London, I thought, maybe if I helped him succeed, it would make up for my failures. I told myself you were strong, that you'd be fine. I was wrong. He leaned forward, tears in his eyes. I thought silence was a way to protect you. But silence kills everything it touches. I didn't answer. I just watched him. For 10 years I had carried my anger like armor. Now seeing him like this, broken, small, I didn't know what to do with it anymore. I thought if you ever admitted it, I said quietly, I'd feel peace. But I don't. I just feel empty, he nodded slowly. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I regret it all. And there's one more thing. He pulled an old envelope from his jacket. The paper was yellowed with age. Your mother wrote this for you before she passed. She told me to give it to you when you were ready. I kept it for 10 years. I took it, hands trembling. Her handwriting hit me like a wave. The first line read, Ethan, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't stay, but I trust you'll rise above whatever breaks you. I folded it back. Tears blurred the words. He said nothing more. We sat there, 2 men bound by the same silence. No hugs, no forgiveness, just the quiet understanding that for the first time the silence between us wasn't cold anymore. The next morning sunlight filtered through the blinds. The letter lay on the table, still unopened past the first page. A part of me didn't want to finish it. Maybe because I knew that once I did, I'd have no reason left to hate him. A soft knock. Linda stepped in, eyes swollen. Ethan, the doctors say Caleb needs surgery. We don't have enough money. Your father tried to get a loan, but... How much? I asked. Around 40,000, she whispered. 40,000. Half my life savings. The down payment for my first home. My stability. My future. You don't have to... She started, voice cracking. But if he doesn't get the surgery, he might... Don't, I cut her off. I turned to the window. The Ohio sky was pale and heavy. I asked myself, why did I come back? Was it pity? Or some part of me still hoping to be seen? Richard walked in then, his face drawn. Ethan, you owe me nothing. But if there's any way you can help... And what would that change? I said sharply. You can't give me back 10 years. He lowered his head. There was nothing left to say. In the hallway, my mother's words echoed in my mind. Don't let someone else's pain define who you are. Forgiveness isn't surrender. It's freedom. For 10 years, I thought my anger made me strong. But standing there watching my father crumble, I realized anger had just kept me chained to him. I walked to the billing office and signed the payment form. When the nurse asked, "Are you family?" I said, "I used to be." When I returned, my father stared at me like he couldn't believe it. "Ethan, why?" "Because of Mom," I said quietly. "And because I refused to become what you did." He broke down then, silently, the kind of crying that comes from a man who's lost everything that made him proud. The surgery lasted 5 hours. I waited outside with Linda, both of us silent. When the doctor finally came out, he said, "The procedure went well. He'll recover." Linda wept. My father collapsed into the chair beside her. And me, I just sat there, exhausted, not relieved, not happy, just empty. But for the first time in a decade, that emptiness felt cleaner, like space where something new might grow. That night, I looked at Caleb through the glass window. His face was pale, his hands still bandaged. The boy who once took everything from me now looked just as lost as I'd once been. Maybe that's why I felt no bitterness, only a quiet kind of peace. I had finally chosen compassion over revenge. When I stepped outside, dawn was breaking. The air was cold, but for the first time in years I could breathe. 3 days later, Caleb woke up. I was about to leave when a nurse stopped me. "He wants to see you," she said. Through the window I saw him, pale, thin, eyes sunken. When he spotted me, he tried to sit up, grimacing from the pain. "You're Ethan, right?" His voice was weak, raw. "Yeah," I said. "That's me. I remember you," he whispered. "Mom still keeps your picture in the living room." I didn't know what to say. Honestly, I never thought I existed in anyone's memories back in that house. Not after what happened. He hesitated, voice trembling. "I know about the college fund. I've known for a while. They didn't talk about it, but I heard them fighting once. I wanted to reach out to you, but they wouldn't let me." I thought, "You hated me." I stared at him for a long time. "No," I said finally. "I don't hate you. I just don't know how to feel." He broke down, tears streaming quietly down his bruised cheeks. "I didn't deserve any of it," he said. "I wasn't smart enough or strong enough. I just wanted Dad to see me. The way he used to see you, that hit me like a punch. For years I'd thought he was the lucky one, but standing there I realized he'd been carrying his own burden, living under the weight of being the replacement." I sat down next to him. "You don't have to carry their mistakes," I said softly. "You don't owe them anything." "And neither do I." Caleb nodded, still crying. "Thank you, Ethan." 2 words, simple. But they made something inside me unclench. For the first time, the anger I'd been holding for years began to fade. Not because anything had been fixed, but because someone had finally seen me. When I left the room, my father was waiting in the hallway. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for saving him." I looked at him, tired but calm. "Hold on to that feeling," I said. "Don't let it come too late again." Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky was still grey, but a faint line of light broke through the clouds. And for the first time in 10 years, I felt something close to peace. I left the hospital the next morning. My father stayed behind with Caleb, and Linda walked me to the parking lot. We didn't say much. There was nothing left to say. I didn't need their apologies anymore. What I needed I'd already found. Quiet. Halfway home, I stopped at a small cafe near the river, ordered black coffee, pulled out the letter I hadn't finished reading. This time I read it to the end. "Ethan, you'll grow up in a world that isn't fair. People will take from you, betray you, or forget you. But I hope you never let them steal your kindness. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It means not letting pain decide who you become. And if one day you feel lost, look back at the place you walked away from. Not to return, but to see how far you've come." I folded the letter carefully and smiled through the tears. For the first time in a long time, they weren't bitter. When I got home to my apartment in Cincinnati, I framed the letter and placed it under my mother's photo on the wall. The small room finally felt like home. A week later, my father called. His voice was fragile but lighter. "Caleb's recovering. He wants to thank you." "He doesn't have to," I said. Just take care of him. You don't need to worry about me anymore." Before hanging up, he added quietly, "I don't deserve to be your father, but I'm proud of you, Ethan." I didn't reply, but for the first time I believed him. That night I sat by the window watching the rain. The world was quiet, and so was I. 10 years ago I left Ohio with a heart full of anger. This time I'd left it behind. Not to escape, but to start over. Before going to bed, I opened Reddit and typed under "R true" off my chest. My dad used my college fund to send his new son abroad. 10 years later, I saved that same boy's life. I thought forgiveness was weakness. Turns out it's freedom. 2 months later, I got a package in the mail. No sender name, just the word Caleb scribbled on the front. Inside was a photo. My dad, Linda, and Caleb in the hospital garden. They were smiling. Genuinely smiling. On the back it said, "Thank you, Ethan, I'm still trying." I placed it on my desk beside my mom's photo. I didn't know why, but my chest felt warm. Maybe because, for the first time, it didn't hurt to see them happy. The cycle was over. None of us had to carry it anymore. Every few weeks, Dad called. Not often, just enough. He'd talk about growing vegetables behind the house, about Caleb going back to school, about Linda's new bakery. His voice had changed. Softer, humble. I'd never heard him sound that way before. "Will you come visit someday?" he asked once. "Not yet," I said. "But maybe one day." There was a pause, then he said quietly, "I'll be here. I don't know if I'll ever go back. Maybe I don't need to." Forgiveness isn't a single moment. It's a process. It doesn't happen the instant you say, "I forgive you." It happens when you stop letting resentment decide how you live. And I think I've reached that point. One night, while cleaning my apartment, I found an old notebook, something I'd taken when I left home at 16. Inside was a line I'd written all those years ago. "One day I'll make them regret choosing him over me." I stared at it for a long time. Then I crossed it out. Beneath it, I wrote, "I won't live to make anyone regret. I'll live to make sure I don't." Outside, the first snow of the year was falling. The city was quiet. For the first time, it felt like peace wasn't something I had to chase anymore. It had finally found me. I didn't expect my post on Reddit to matter. I just wanted to let go. But a few days later, thousands of people had read it. Some said I was too kind. Others said I should have let them suffer. But among all the comments, one stood out. Forgiving doesn't mean they deserve it. Forgiving means you refuse to let them break you twice. I must have read that line 100 times. Maybe that's what Mom wanted me to understand all along. It was never about money or justice or payback. It was about learning how to keep living without letting the past control me. I closed my laptop and stepped out to the balcony. The night was calm, the wind carrying the faint scent of snow. Somewhere in that silence, I almost heard her voice again. "You did good, Ethan," I smiled. The anger, the grief, the noise gone. All that remained was memory. And when you look at memory with kindness, even pain becomes gentle. Inside, I looked at the 2 photos on my wall. Mom's and the one Caleb sent. 2 worlds that once collided, now finally at peace. Maybe that's the real miracle. Not changing others, but changing what the past means to you. My dad used my college fund to send his new son abroad. 10 years later, I saved that same boy's life, and I learned that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the only kind of strength that doesn't destroy you.